When a mayor says it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, but the town can't afford to fix potholes, you have to ask questions. That's exactly what's happening in Dolton, Illinois, where Mayor Tiffany Henyard is pitching big dreams. While the basics still fall apart, streets left crumbling for months, utility poles leaning dangerously on King Drive, vendors left unpaid, and yet, amid this mess, Henyard takes the mic and paints a picture of historic possibilities enterprise zones. State funding, spiritual significance, it sounds inspiring. Until you realize none of it comes with receipts, timelines, or clear financial backing. She says this project is urgent. She says it's about faith, pride, and progress. But the village's financials tell a very different story, one of back bills, fuzzy accounting, and public trust wearing thin dots. So, is this truly the breakthrough she claims it is? Or is it political theater meant to distract from deeper issues she doesn't want anyone digging into? Because when the potholes are real, but the promises are vague, it's time to look past the podium and follow the money. Mayor Tiffany Henyard kicks things off with a familiar play from the political playbook, Blame the Last Guy. She paints the village's current financial struggles as part of an inherited crisis, one that was dumped in her lap by previous administrations. She says she hears the concerns, loud and clear, and wants the public to know this isn't her fault. It's a move designed to buy time and sympathy. And to be fair, many leaders do inherit problems. But the question is, how long can inherited problems be the shield? It's been well over a year, and in that time, we've seen streets still broken, vendors still unpaid, and vague budgets ballooning without explanation. What's worst, there's no clear financial roadmap in sight. No action plan, no transparency. Just speeches loaded with emotional appeals and political slogans. Henyard tells the public she's committed to fixing the streets and resolving back bills, but offers few details about how or when. So yes, maybe the crisis was inherited. But residents aren't asking who caused the fire anymore. They're asking why it's still burning. Because when you campaign as the super mayor, the days of blaming others eventually run out. Mayor Henyard promises that street repairs could begin as soon as the end of this week. It sounds hopeful, urgent even, but for the residents who've been dodging potholes for months, that promise rings hollow, especially when some of those same problem areas, like the pole on King Drive, have sat untouched for 6 to 8 months. By her own admission, this is where words start to conflict with reality. It's easy to say street work is a priority. It's harder to explain why nothing's been done yet, and harder still to justify why the repairs are suddenly happening now conveniently during public scrutiny and board pushback. The mayor says they've finally identified vendors willing to work with the village. But why did it take so long? If this was truly a top priority, wouldn't the wheels have started turning much earlier? More importantly, where in the budget are these repairs accounted for? There's no breakdown, no public plan, and no paper trail showing which streets will be fixed, how much it'll cost, or which vendors got the contract. This is what we call the infrastructure illusion, where the appearance of progress is used to distract from the absence of accountability. She wants residents to see fresh pavement and forget the potholes. But one patch of asphalt doesn't erase months or even years of financial neglect. The big question, if infrastructure is finally being addressed, is it because it was planned or because the pressure got too loud to ignore? Mayor Henyard brings up a pole that's been sitting on King Drive for 6 to 8 months, a pole so neglected it's become a local landmark. It's her example of a problem that's supposedly being handled, yet still lingers without resolution. She tries to reassure residents that police and public works are already governing the maintenance of properties like these. But what does that really mean? If the pole hasn't moved in over half a year, is anyone really maintaining anything? And if law enforcement and public works are stretched thin already, what happens when they're asked to do even more, like monitor properties the village may not even own yet? This is where her narrative starts to wobble. She claims these maintenance costs are already in place. But when residents can see decay, when they feel unsafe, and when essential repairs go ignored, those words feel disconnected from reality. And what about the cost? Public safety and property oversight are not free. Officers and workers don't appear out of thin air. When budgets are tight and funds are vague, Every additional task strains resources further. Who's actually footing the bill for all this extra work? And how is it being tracked? This is neglect in plain sight problems so visible they no longer need to be explained. And yet, the mayor keeps using empty assurances to explain them anyway. Because when basic repairs become afterthoughts and public safety gets politicized, you're no longer looking at poor planning. You're looking at a system of priorities, gone completely off track. In the middle of a fiscal debate, Mayor Henyard shifts gears. Suddenly, it's not just about budgets, vendors, or potholes. It's about faith. With solemn tone, she says, "We are honoring those that are members of this faith." Now pause, that's not just a statement. That's a calculated move. Instead of addressing financial concerns with data or timelines, she leans on spirituality. It's a tactic we've seen before in politics. Wrap a controversial decision in religious language, and suddenly, criticism sounds like sacrilege. That's sacred spin-turning budget debates into moral crusades, as if questioning the numbers is equivalent to questioning God. This isn't about religious intolerance, it's about accountability. And when a mayor uses emotional language to shield questionable expenses, that's not leadership, it's theater. Henyard says it's a proud opportunity and insists that critics are being heard. But if they're really being heard, why does she immediately pivot to reverence? Instead of receipts, her words blur the line between civic duty and spiritual performance. And that's dangerous. Because once a leader positions themselves as a chosen moral voice, it becomes harder for others to challenge them without being accused of insensitivity or hate. This speech isn't just a defense of a project. It's a carefully crafted sermon meant to drown out dissent. Emotional appeals shouldn't be used to override logical concerns. In a functioning democracy, facts must outweigh feelings, especially when public money is involved. When faith becomes a shield for fuzzy finances, we're not just debating a budget anymore. We're confronting a performance designed to silence accountability with reverence. Ann in Dalton. Sacred spin might just be the most expensive illusion of all. Mayor Tiffany Henyard doesn't just pitch a project she brands it as a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. She calls it historic, urgent, and essential for Dalton's future. And she makes it clear, if the village doesn't move fast, outside investors will. It's a classic high-pressure sales pitch, but instead of a used car, it's public land. The emotional urgency is thick. Henyard warns the moment might go to an investor if the board doesn't act, but pause and ask, what exactly is the project? What are the terms? Who's profiting? And where's the public discussion on the real impact for residents? Because when a mayor uses vague language like enterprise zones and historic districts without showing concrete plans, that's not transparency as theater. She's selling the optics of progress without showing the math. This isn't just about missed opportunity, it's about control. The act now or lose everything tone creates pressure, less time for debate, less room for scrutiny. And that's dangerous when real estate and redevelopment are involved. Investors are circling. Why? What do they know that the public doesn't? And if there's money to be made, why isn't the community seeing a clear financial roadmap first? This might be historic, but for who? Dalton residents need more than big dreams and emotional speeches. They need clarity. They need numbers. They need to know whether this is truly about community uplift or a carefully crafted deal that benefits a chosen few, because without facts, opportunity becomes just another word for optics. And in this case, the shine might be hiding a very expensive shadow. You can't cut your way out of a deficit, says Mayor Tiffany Henyard with the confidence of someone who thinks she's just delivered a mic drop moment. It's a catchy line, technically true. But what's missing? A real plan. Economic growth isn't just about spending, it's about investing wisely. And critics are quick to point out that while Henyard talks a big game about revenue and revitalization, the actions behind those words look more like budget gimmicks than long-term strategy. There's no clear outline of how these opportunities she keeps referencing will bring in sustainable income. No data, no projected returns. Just vague mentions of enterprise zones and historic tax credits with zero financial modeling to back it up. Meanwhile, the village keeps racking up new costs: property maintenance, vendor contracts, security. Details expenses she admits they'll incur whether we own the property or not. It's as if she's writing checks based on vibes, not balance sheets. This is the revenue mirage, a shimmering promise of economic boom just ahead. That vanishes the closer you get to it. Two residents watching taxes rise and services stall. The only thing growing seems to be the size of the mayor's ambitions and the deficit. Real economic growth takes planning, transparency, and community input, not just bold claims and vague forecasts. So when Henyard frames every concern as a lack of vision, when she dismisses financial red flags as just noise, she's not building a better Dalton. She's selling a dream on credit. And dreams, unlike budgets, don't pay the bills. Mayor Tiffany Henyard says it with a straight face. This board of trustees holds me accountable every single day. But if that's true, the evidence must be hiding in some locked drawer, because from what residents and watchdogs can see, the oversight is more theater than reality. Let's look at the facts. Lawsuits are piling up. FOIA, Freedom of Information Act requests are delayed or redacted. Financial records are vague, and spending continues with little explanation. If trustees were truly applying daily pressure, wouldn't we see more answers and fewer headlines? Instead, what we get feels a lot like pretend oversight, a political performance where questions are asked softly, if at all, and applause comes loud and on cue. It's the kind of accountability that looks great in a meeting but folds. Under actual scrutiny, the concern here isn't just one mayor overstepping. It's a system that appears too comfortable to push back. And when elected officials confuse loyalty with silence, the real cost is paid by the taxpayers. Because in a healthy democracy, accountability isn't just spoken, it's shown. And in Dalton, the stage is full, the lights are on. But the script feels rigged. Mayor Tiffany Henyard paints a vivid picture. A once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Spiritual significance. Economic revival. But behind the big speeches and emotional appeals lie unanswered questions and a worrying lack of detail. She acknowledges concerns, but glosses over facts. She promises action, but skips over execution. Street repairs, vendor partnerships, and property maintenance are all tossed into the air like confetti. With no clear plan on how they'll land, what we're left with is a growing tension between lip service and leadership. Is this about progress or performance? Is she building the future of Dalton or just a personal legacy? Because real leadership means more than grand language. It means clarity, accountability, and measurable outcomes. It means receipts, not rhetoric. When residents see potholes unfixed, financial records unclear, and vague budget lines disguised as vision, the shine of that historic moment starts to wear off. And the community is right to ask, are we being led or being sold? If you care about how your tax money is spent, you'll want to stay tuned, because this historic moment might just turn into a historic mess. Like, comment, and subscribe, because while they hold power, someone needs to hold the mic. Let's follow the money, the facts, and the truth. This story isn't over, it's just getting louder.